Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is a general announcement. In 5 minutes, the conference will start. Please take your seats as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Dos.
Good morning, everyone. For those wanting to connect, please use the SATARnet Wi-Fi connection. I repeat, the SATARnet Wi-Fi connection is the appropriate connection. Thank you very much. Memorizing 25 peppers. I'm like, it's up.
caballito llega Aruba, prométenos historia, caballito y John Alfredo, 10909, caballito llega Aruba, prométenos historia, caballito y John Alfredo, nos a buscarnos por Rico, panos por vaga playa, pa corre caballito, caballito y John Alfredo, caballito, caballito, caballito y John Alfredo, caballito, caballito, caballito y John Alfredo, caballito, caballito, caballito y John Alfredo, panturbanos corre, panturbanos goce, caballito, caballito, caballito y John Alfredo, caballito, caballito, caballito y John Alfredo, panturbanos goce, panturbanos corre, caballito, caballito, caballito y John Alfredo, caballito, caballito, caballito y John Alfredo, caballito, caballito, caballito y John Alfredo. Auto, nos avincunos carroshi, turro mi señorita, pa corre caballito. Punta tin auto, nos avincunos carroshi, turro mi señorita, pa corre caballito. Caballito, caballito, caballito y John Alfredo, caballito, caballito, caballito y John Alfredo, caballito, caballito, caballito y John Alfredo.
Un momento. El tiempo pasa. El tiempo. Where's the time? Cannot find it. Where's my time? Me tiempo bay. El tiempo bay lagami. Ami te kinang awo. Akinang. ¿Qué pasa? Una me llega. Un momento. A mí comprende. De un damabing. Minha nasa na Aruba. Tem em hospital viejo. 7 luna. 7 luna. Mina por guarda. Você acorda, ma? Mina por guarda. Mas sali den 7 luna. Mas sali com pia, com chan-chan, brasa, mas bem fo. Minto mucha, sem paciência. Poyuda. 9 luna para guarda. Jamás. Quem é que passa? Alfredo Peiser? Camila Dijkhuizen? Não, bota viva. Bota viva na Corsau. Willemstad, Corsau. Bota corno sa Hibabo. Ora bota ting 89 anos. Não está corre den punda. Ora não siga cas. Bota visa para vos. Não nami nada de come. Vos não himami punda. Que hora não está bem? Alfredo Peiser. Bascuchi Cantica? Did you hear that song? That's my great-grandfather. I didn't even know it. He used to bring beautiful carousels. He used to bring circus. He used to make people happy. I didn't know that. I didn't know him. I just know that he's part of me. Of who I am right now. I know he has lots and lots of beautiful women in Curacao. Our family is huge. 60 or more. Grandchildren, who knows? But he was a man of courage. He looked very was always nicely dressed in white. I've never seen him before, but I know that. And then came Oscar. Una bota. Where are you? You're not here anymore. You just passed away in December. You left me. You just left me. You were almost 95 years old. And where did you live? You live in San Nicolas. That's where my mom is from. One of the most beautiful cities on this island. It has been left behind. I'm so sorry. So sorry to you. But you will always be here because I love you. You did so much for us, for the community, for your family. There are you. Camila, Alfredo, Gisberta. With love, with courage. They live their lives with so many history. That's why I'm here right now. That's why you are here. Can we drink some tea mamayo? Can we have some coffee? You love coffee. You love it every morning. Every morning you put your coffee. This is too big. I'll have some. No milk. I'm sorry. And it's so warm. So I'll sit down with you. Why we're here? What is our purpose of our lives? What are we doing? Why we are here? Do you know? Do you remember? Right now? Have you heard? May itende ku kada kasi ng cruz. Abot hindi bo, abo. You have yours. Every house has its own cross. Their family, tradition, lives, kids. We should be very, very, very proud and very grateful. Because of them, we're here right now. As much as I can say, I want to say thank you. Can we say thank you all together? Can we all do? Can we say together, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Can we? Please forgive me. Can I hear it, please? Please forgive me. Can we say I love you? I love you. Can we say thank you? One more time. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. A tardi arrubata bonita, ora cu solo tabaha, ora cu parananca canta feliz, prome cuna mai sosega. A tardi para canti playa, gozo ta llena nos alma, taparse que isla tahalung rosella te llama e dia ayo. Pero a tardi também tem tristeza, ora dia ta llega a su fin, ta manera compartirnos, ta yendo y jamás nos lo volveré. Pero a tarde também tem tristeza, ora dia ta llega a su fin, ta manera compartirnos, ta yendo y jamás nos lo volveré. Ta manera compartirnos, ta yendo y jamás nos lo volveré. Da manera compartimos, trabajando y jamás nos lo volveré. Da manera compartimos, trabajando y jamás nos lo volveré. Danke.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you have just witnessed is Lydia has been practicing her multidisciplinary dance in theater projects here in Aruba for 14 years. She is an artist, a producer, a dancer, a teacher, a choreographer. As you can see, she is multi-talented. So once again, please put your hands together for Miss Lydia Weaver. Undersecretary General and High Representative of the United Nations OHR LLS, His Excellency Prime Minister of Aruba, His Excellency Prime Minister of St. Martin, His and Her Excellencies Ministers of the Cabinet of Aruba, Honorable Members of Parliament, Ambassadors and Excellencies from the representative countries, distinguished guests, invited guests, members of the press, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning, bon dia, and welcome to P3a Conference 2016. My name is Michelle Brooks, and I am honored to be one of your hosts for the next 3 days. Aruba is proud to have been selected as the host destination for this P3a conference, as it allows us to promote our inspiring journey to a sustainable society. Aruba has used the public-private partnership model in implementing innovative and sustainable projects and is now ready to share our experiences and knowledge with the world. The current partners for this conference is the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the United Nations Office of the High Representative for Least Developed Countries, landlocked developing countries, and small island development states. The Government of Aruba, PPP Knowledge Center of Aruba, the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Without these partners, we would not be able to stand before you today. So please join me in applauding the efforts of all partners who contributed in some way to this P3a Conference 2016. To show our commitment as a country to what is going to be realized, all the information that is going to be shared, we have amongst us today our Minister of Justice, our Minister of Urban Development, Infrastructure and Integration, our Minister of Finance and Government Organization, our Minister of Social Affairs, Youth and Labor, and our Secretary to the Council of Ministers. Aruba is dedicated to sustainable development, and it is evidenced by the presence of our ministers and our honorable members of Parliament this morning. And so we thank these partners for their commitment to the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor this morning of sharing this stage with a gentleman who is very known here in Aruba. But to those of you who do not, I would like to introduce to you my co-host who's hanging over here at the bar. It's a little bit early to be drinking, Ryan. Ladies and gentlemen, our co-host and moderator, actually, for the conference over the next 3 days, General Manager for Economic Policy at the Central Bank of Aruba, Mr. Ryan Peterson.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Good morning. As Michelle mentioned, I'll be taking your order this morning. I'll be working the bar. So please go easy on me. I know it's a tough crowd we have here this morning, but it's a great pleasure and an honor for me to be here. Welcome again to everyone. Thank you to Aruba, Sun, Sand, Sea, P3a. We'll start with the oceans. Moving on to digital connectivity to make sure we cover the 3 and the 7 for the 3 days and the 7 teams. Ladies and gentlemen, the coming few days will be exciting, will be interesting, as we discuss not only the challenges that these islands face, not only the challenges and the vulnerabilities have been discussed and has been experienced for well over 30 years across the world in islands. Islands are the front runners and the forebearers, if you like, of what is yet to come. Not only are they small, but I believe they also can be smart. As we discuss these, double their efforts in working together, double their efforts in sharing best practices, and that's exactly what we'll be doing here today.
Hands together and help.
My friends, good morning. Undersecretary General, Mr. Acharia, Prime Minister of St. Martin, public ministers, also ministers from the other countries, our honorable ambassadors and invited guests, my esteemed friends, thank you very much for your presence here today. As we woke up early this morning to prepare and reflect on the important mission we have during these days and the important responsibility that we all together bear for the future of our islands and our countries and the world, we were shocked by the images we started seeing in Aruba at 6 o'clock this morning coming from Brussels. Weapons and very powerful scientific and technological development. But it seems that getting people together, like Mrs. Waver inspired us this morning with her opening, is still a daunting task for this world. Having people respect each other, care for each other, seems so simple when we are born in our families and we love our siblings, our mother and father, and we love our neighbors. And then suddenly, as we grow up, we see within our own countries, within even technological developments, all the sophistication and civilization, we are still not able to create a world society of peace and tolerance, solidarity, and shared happiness. And there's only one institution really in this whole world that wakes up for us in the morning. So many of you might not know, there was a terroristic attack in Brussels. Many innocent people died. We were there only some weeks ago, accepting also responsibility and an important function for the EU. We have walked those streets. We were at that airport. Part of our delegation left the next morning of the conference at that airport. I left at that airport, and the other half of our delegation left at that same train station where today we have had that tragedy. So it hits very close to home, and we realize what Brussels is going through and the world is going through. So I would like to ask you a moment of silence for us to be in solidarity with the people of Brussels and Belgium. Thank you very much. This morning early, I also called the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, and I spoke to his Secretary General, who took the mobile phone of the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, who at this moment is also the chairman of the EU, was in an urgent meeting, as you can understand, both for the further threats for the EU, but also any possible threats for the Netherlands and the Kingdom of the Netherlands and our other allies. This morning, my friends, we are very motivated that we have so many of you here present in Aruba. And we are very motivated because over the course of the history of Aruba, and we have seen many of the same challenges and still see many of the same challenges that you see in your countries. Many of the challenges are challenges that we can confront with the resources that we have as a public sector. Many of our countries, even our most poorest countries among us, have built our own hospitals, have built our own schools, have built our own infrastructures. But many of us have also faced the moment in where there is a big difference in the development of what we call the developed countries and the countries that are still in development. And as we make the comparison, it is logic that our countries and our people also desire to have those more developed infrastructures, those more developed and sustainable tourism entities, the more sustainable infrastructures for our schools, for our hospitals, for our elderly care. In Aruba, I very often say, when we analyze the impact that the tourism development had in Aruba, and some years ago we saw that our development in the other areas did not keep pace with the development of our hotel industry, we said we would also like to have not only 5-star hotels in Aruba, but also 5-star schools, 5-star elderly homes, 5-star neighborhoods. So we started working on ways in order to make this possible, even with limited budgets. And we very fast found out that if we work together with the private sector, we can be creative in the ways that great moment, and a great moment, I believe, for all of you, to have the opportunity to share in some of our experience, encouraging over the last decades. It doesn't exist a solely responsibility of the public sector to take care of the common good of societies. That the common good, as the word says, it's common good. That means that both the public sector as the private sector have to work together in order for us to be able to realize a better quality of life for everyone in where the sector has an opportunity to thrive. In the case of Aruba itself, we have held the most powerful symbol of sustainability. Because Aruba is so dry, because despite the drought, this tree grows and withstands all the harsh conditions of nature. And it does so because it grows with the direction of the hard wind, northeastern wind that Aruba has. So working with the forces of nature, and for some of us, more religiously among us, working with the forces of our Creator, we learn how to survive. That is the best teaching for what means sustainability. It's working with the forces of nature. Aruba, in the beginning of the last century, had a development that was so eloquently presented in the opening of Mrs. Weaver, where the society celebrated an interesting, slow development, which was like part of growth combined with all the values of society pretty well in balance. And people enjoyed in the 40s and 50s the development, people embraced it, and it was not menacing, it was change that really happened at a pace that we could follow and that was not threatening. We also had the opening of an oil refinery that brought many people from other islands to Aruba, so we created a very interesting multicultural society in Aruba, which really is the foundation of our society today. And as the refinery went through its first phase of automatization in 1950s, we had very creative leaders that immediately saw the potential of the beautiful beaches of Aruba and decided to confront the challenges of the automatization of the refinery and the unemployment that we were facing at that moment with the beginning of the touristic industry in Aruba. So we started building our first hotel. Then in the 1980s, that refinery did not further follow the automatization process, but at the end closed. And we had suddenly that for many countries in the islands, natural disaster is the reason that suddenly they can start from zero again. In the case of Aruba, we have been spared a lot of those natural disasters, but we had economic disasters where one economic pillar, like a refinery that represents 50% of your GDP, suddenly closes, and then you have a dramatic effect as if when a natural disaster occurs on one of our islands. So Aruba faced at that moment enormous challenge, and so we decided to tap in again in what we were strong in and what was a dormant potential for Aruba, and that was the fast expansion of our tourism industry. And we went from 2,000 hotel rooms to more than 8,000 hotel rooms in a few years, from 200,000 tourists, then more than 1 million arriving via our airports, and almost 700,000 arriving with cruise ships during 1 year in Aruba. So our island changed very fast. We went from 40% unemployment to full employment, from 60,000 people to 100,000 people, or 40,000 people immigrated to Aruba, because we did not only create sufficient jobs for our own people, we also created jobs for people in the region to immigrate to Aruba. So when we look at large countries nowadays and seeing their feeling of insecurity with immigration, we say, look at some of our islands, how we have embraced immigration, how an island of 60,000 people born on the island grew to 100,000 in less than 10 years, and we were still able to assimilate, and from foreigners became friends, and from friends became all co-citizens on one small island. So if we talk about lessons that can be learned from islands, maybe we can start with that lesson of multiculturalism. How if you have the right approach, if you have the right leadership that does not encourage fear, but encourage people to look at one another and see if you can learn something from a new friend, leadership that sees the potential of diversification in culture and habits, in history, how you can utilize that as part of your own progress, then it is indeed possible to create a society where people are from different religion, are from different countries, all living on the same soil and creating a common future. So one of the first things maybe when we talk about global challenges, we talk about insecurity in the world and how we can bring communities together. Maybe it's worth a study on how islands do this. I won't know the formula either. It almost happens naturally, organically on our islands, but it might be worth a study of seeing how such a dramatic number of immigrants can come on a very small island, and people are still able to assimilate and embrace each other over time and become one nation. Through the course of the years, with the development of our hotel industry, we reached a point where all the calculations And we had also with our statistics proved to us in the year 2000 was exactly the tipping point that a further expansion of our economy purely based on expanding our tourism industry would not have a added value for the well-being of our society. If what you are looking for is not only GDP growth, but also well-being and socio-economic progress for your societies, it is very important to measure very well where the GDP relates to the well-being of your citizens. Because economic growth does not always, and especially not in our experience in a touristic economy, always translates into better quality of life for your citizens. And that's something that governments should really follow closely to assure that the right instruments are put in place, that the right policies are applied in order to transfer hotels, but also five-star schools, five-star public spaces, five-star quality of life for our citizens. So we set as our priority to find a social economic model where we can translate economic prosperity and well-being for our society. That means nicer schools for our people. That means better communities, better neighborhoods where there are no pavement to bring pavement, where there are no light, there's no bring light, where there are no connectivity or connection to bring connection, where people are living under the income and the basic line, give the additional allowance so people can have a decent income to create a happy well-being for the citizen. So we started also at the moment of the economic crisis to invest in order not only to create a stronger product which would not concentrate on volume but would concentrate on quality. We focus very much on investment in our city renewal projects, in our neighborhood renewal projects, in our school projects, in our infrastructure. And we did all this, and I will just show you some pictures, renovating and restoring old buildings, restoring buildings that were abandoned, building stadiums, restoring and revitalizing old main streets that were abandoned, bring back a connection between society and the identity of our community. We just had the presentation of Mrs. Waver here, where that part of history of how proud people were, our commitment to our society, and the progress that we are aspiring. And so that's what we have been focused on in Aruba. And we have done that in collaboration with the private sector in Aruba. In the course of these days, I hope that you will get an opportunity to also see our different projects that we have been developing on the PPP concept. Our Minister of Infrastructure will talk about them, four-way lanes, new hospital, new container harbor, solar parks, windmill parks. All of these projects have been developed on the PPP concept, and it's only by bringing together the vision of the public sector, where we want to go as a nation, combined with that commitment that it will be sustainable and it will be shared among the society in an equitable way, and bringing in the private sector that has the financial resources and has the human resources also in a lot of cases, that only in that way for many countries, but specifically islands, it is possible to reach the dream to have a sustainable and shared prosperity. And it is for that reason that we are very proud that Aruba has been chosen to host this conference. We would like to learn much more of where there's more opportunities in thinking of ways to bring the private sector and the public sector together. And we definitely hope to hear from our other island nations how SIDS can prosper with this PPP model in order for us also to guarantee not only economic development for our society, but also a good quality of life for everyone. As we started this morning, we understand more than ever again, maybe this morning after what we have just experienced in Brussels, that a lot of the problems in the world have to do with the feeling of insecurity, maybe some feeling of unfairness in the way history has gone, the way the cards maybe have been dealt through history. And it is our responsibility to see how we can build bridges in order to create more understanding among people that don't understand each other, and build these bridges also towards the future in order to have a better life for everyone in this world. So thank you very much, and I hope that we can share the experience of Aruba with you, but also that you can share your experience with us, and that the UN and the Department of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands were so helpful. Karel, thank you very, very much for your support since Karel has been the ambassador for the Kingdom of the Netherlands in the UN. I must say the islands, the Dutch Caribbean, but all islands are getting a lot of attention. Karel has, and I think the Department of Foreign Affairs, a very special place for islands in their hearts, and understand the challenges of islands. So together with this partnership with the UN, the Department of Foreign Affairs, I hope that we can deliver next week, hopefully also together with the UNDP, we'll open the Center of Excellence in Aruba, where we will bring together all the knowledge in the area of sustainability, both in the area of energy, but also socioeconomic aspects of sustainability, sponsored by Richard, thank you very, very much, by the UNDP in Aruba. Again, a beautiful recognition for Aruba that the Center of Excellence is established in Aruba, and it is a Center of Excellence not just for Aruba, it's in Aruba, but it will accumulate all the information and knowledge around the world on how to create sustainable societies in all areas and make it available to the rest of the world. So as a small island, we are very happy that we can also contribute to bringing solutions to global challenges. Thank you very much.
We would also like to ask, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please turn your mobile phones to silence during the course of the next 3 days presentation. It would be greatly appreciated. And now, I have the pleasure of introducing the Undersecretary General and High Representative to the United Nations, OHR LLS, Mr. Gyan Chandra Acharya.
Your Excellency, Prime Minister of Aruba, Mr. Mike Eamon, Your Excellency, Mr. William Marlin, Prime Minister of St. Martin, Your Excellencies, Ministers of the Government of Aruba, Members of Parliament, Ambassador Karel of Netherlands, Excellencies, Permanent Representatives and Ambassadors from the permanent missions of the small island developing states in New York, distinguished delegates, private sector participants, and their partners, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Let me also begin by expressing deep condolences to the loss of lives in Brussels, and also, I think, as the Prime Minister has explained, the need for the international community to really work together, not only to deal with the terrorism and the insecurity, but also deal with the development challenges, as well as the promotion of overall prosperity of the people around the world. It is an honor for me and my office to welcome you all to this P3a conference today. Let me at the outset thank the government of Aruba for co-hosting this event, and Prime Minister Eamon for his leadership, vision, and personal commitment to hosting this very important conference. We are on a truly amazing island, and we greatly appreciate the hospitality. Allow me also to thank the Netherlands government for supporting the convening of this conference and also supporting the SITS agenda in general. We greatly appreciate the contributions made by the Dutch government through the development assistance to many of the countries around the world, and of course the global leadership that the Netherlands has and continues to show, among others, in the areas of ocean governance, water and sanitation, private sector development and trade, which are of particular importance to SITS. And we all know that when we talk about Netherlands, we also talk about small islands within the Kingdom of Netherlands. Let me also thank the distinguished ambassadors, PRs, and the delegates from SITS in New York and from the capitals. Your continuous efforts to bring the SITS issues on the global platform is very well appreciated. I also thank the participants and the speakers, some of whom have traveled halfway around the world to be here with us, for your commitment to SITS and the issues you are engaged with at the national, regional, and the global levels. I look forward to hearing about your experiences and views on the issues we will be focusing on over the next 3 days. I'm sure we'll hear about the complex challenges, but also the opportunities and solutions that you have been making use of in promoting the interest and aspirations of SITS in your countries. That would be a very important lessons learned from everybody around us. This conference is a follow-up to the Samoa SITS Private Sector Partnership Forum, convened in Samoa in 2014, that the Prime Minister Eamon also participated in. That forum was inspired by the outcome of the Rio+20 outcome, the future we want, which recognized that sustainable development and the better integration of the three dimensions, the economic, the social, as well as the environmental dimensions, can only be achieved through a broad coalition of stakeholders, including governments, civil society, and the private sector. Since Rio+20 in 2012, the United Nations has convened the third international conference on SITS in 2014 in Samoa. Last year, we saw the adoption by the international community of the 2015 Sendai Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction, Addis Ababa Conference on Financing for Development, Sustainable Development Goals in New York, and the Paris Agreement at COP21 in Paris. All these landmark outcomes for the United Nations and the international community as a whole had some specific mention of the SITS situation and also reaffirmed SITS' special case for development. My office was privileged to advocate together with the members of the international community in all these processes on behalf of the SITS, leading towards the adoption of their respective outcomes. These outcomes also recognize the important role that the private sector can play in contributing to the efforts for sustainable development as well as to face the climate challenge. Resources from international development partners, domestic resources, as well as those from the private sector and the global business as well as foundations need to be mobilized in a complementary and coordinated manner to ensure that the implementation of these global outcomes can be translated into real action on the ground which impacts on the lives of the people, including those of the islanders. Continuing on from the theme of the Samoa Conference, which is the sustainable development of SITS through genuine and durable partnership, this Aruba P3a conference is focused on public-private partnerships. While there can be no doubt that the opportunities for PPPs exist, PPPs can present their own sets of challenges, and this is no different for SITS. In fact, due to their small size and being away from the major centers and other related constraints, these challenges are magnified for SITS. Given SITS' inherent characteristics that contribute to their vulnerability, such as limited financial resources and capacity, including those concerning lack of absorptive capacity in SITS to manage major undertakings, the need for approaches to PPPs to be tailored to meet and overcome these constraints must be found. However, we believe that the demands for resources to meet development aspirations and resilience far outstrips the public resources available for the government. We know that issues of risk and resources sharing should be really looked at when we talk about PPPs in SITS. Questions on what level of risk and returns can be expected from PPP venture can involve heavy analytical work that can be beyond the capacities of many SIDS. Similarly, the issues related to the strong legal framework to ensure a level of trust and predictability often need to be in place to start potential private partners on a given project. Question of finance and concessionalities should be looked at. The role of financial institutions, including international financial institutions, regional banks, and how these public finance can play a catalytic role in really attracting the private sector will be a very important dimensions when we look at the PPPs. How best sustainable development and far-reaching impacts on the lives of the people can be ensured should be a barometer for the success of the PPPs. I think that is the fundamental issue that we should be looking at when we talk about PPPs. And we all know that there is no one size fits all, and there are many lessons, and the good lessons and good practices to be learned from each other, and I'm sure that this meeting will really enrich our knowledge in order to really ensure that the PPPs will be successful in the SIDS. We look forward to hearing about those lessons and best practices here over the next 3 days. We would also like to really ensure that when we look at the PPPs, many of the countries, especially in the small island developing states, priority areas are also the priority areas of the global community. Whether we look at the oceans, sustainable tourism, connectivity, sustainable agriculture, renewable energy, that could really, the experiences of the small island developing states in those areas can really be a good example for others to follow up, not only the small islands, but for other countries to follow up. Because it not only impacts the livelihood at the community level and at the national level in these countries, but it impacts the global community as a whole. As such, we should keep an open mind on what PPPs could mean in SIDS and what it could mean for the global international community as a whole. Furthermore, as this conference is a follow-up to the Samoa conference, we hope to hear from a number of private sector as well as other partners which were there, how far we have gone in terms of the partnership that we have announced over there. One of the concrete outcomes of the Private Sector Partnership Forum was the establishment of the SIDS Global Business Network. I'm pleased to officially launch the website for the global network here in Aruba. Through the utilization of this web-based platform, the global network will be an institution-light platform, but we hope that it will add value to the existing national and regional-led initiatives in SIDS and CIS regions by linking up SIDS private sectors, including inter-regionally, with the global businesses and other practitioners. The global network will act as a resource hub to complement and connect the work done by SIDS private sector, global businesses, governments, civil society, and local communities on strengthening private sector partnerships in the SIDS countries. In addition to supporting the private sector, the global network will build a bridge between the private sector from small islands and their development partners from the north and the south. It is fitting that we are launching this global network website at this conference. In addition to the focus on PPPs, this conference also acts as an important platform to strengthen international cooperation, solidarity among SIDS in mobilizing efforts in the pursuit of achieving the Samoa Pathway, Sustainable Development Goals, as well as many other important development frameworks. I would like to thank also the government of Denmark for their generous support in the development of this particular network. My office has prepared a short introduction video outlining the key objectives and global network, as well as some of the key features. We encourage you to join the network. But before this video, I wish you all a very successful conference, and rest assured that my office will continue to advocate for SIDS and their issues, as well as to ensure coherence on SIDS issues in UN processes going forward. I thank you for your kind attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to personally thank the United Nations for selecting Aruba to host this conference. Our country and our people feel truly, truly blessed to be the host destination for P3a 2016. Thank you, Mr. Acharya. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce the permanent representative of the Republic of Mauritius to the United Nations, Mr. Jagdish Konjul. Oh, the
Global
video. I'm
Business
so sorry.
Network, known as SIDS GBN, is a new online network which aims to link up small island developing states with the private sector, global business and other stakeholders at the national, regional and international levels. The SIDS GBN will also act as a resource hub to complement and reinforce the work done by governments, civil society and local communities on strengthening private sector partnerships in areas including oceans, connectivity, sustainable agriculture, sustainable tourism, disaster risk reduction, renewable energy and finance. By building a network between SIDS and business opportunities, SIDS GBN will serve as a mediator through which members can interact, update on news and share business ideas and plans. SIDS GBN will also act as a bridge between the private sector from small islands and their developing partners from the north and south. The site combines social networking, advertising, marketing and links to many relevant international organisations supporting SIDS. SIDS GBN emanated from the Private Sector Partnerships Forum, co-organised by UN OHR-LLS on the sidelines of the 2014 Third International Conference on Small Island Developing States in Samoa. UN OHR-LLS would like to invite you to join the SIDS Global Business Network today and become part of the growing community of professionals working to support small island developing states. Visit www.sidsgbn.org.
Thank you so much for that video presentation. And now, as I've previously mentioned, our next speaker is going to be Mr. Jagdish Konjul.
Good morning. Let me first join the Prime Minister in paying tribute to the victims of the terrorist attack in Brussels and in expressing our solidarity with the people of a country that has been a home to me and my family for almost 10 years. The Zaventem Airport is an airport that we have been using so many times, and I can easily visualize the exact spot where this has happened. Your Excellency, Prime Minister Mike Eman, Your Excellency, the Prime Minister of St. Martin's, Excellency High Representative Gyan Chandra Acharya, Excellencies, Ambassadors and Permanent Representatives present, distinguished guests, speakers and panelists, dear colleagues and participants. It is a great honor and a great pleasure for me to deliver this address on behalf of the members of the Alliance of Small Island States, AOSIS. I bring to you the warm greetings of His Excellency Mr. Ahmed Shahriar, the permanent representatives of Maldives to the United Nations and current chair of AOSIS, who unfortunately couldn't be here this week on account of other pressing commitments. He has asked me to convey his sincere apologies for not being able to join us, but he has also requested me to convey his very best wishes for a very successful conference. At the outset, allow me to express my deep appreciation to the government and people of the happy island Aruba for the warm welcome and generous hospitality which has been extended to us since our arrival. The member states of AOSIS wish to congratulate the United Nations Office of the High Representative, the government of Aruba, and the Kingdom of the Netherlands for organizing this important conference, which comes at an opportune time and which will give us a unique opportunity to discuss the various ways in which we can promote sustainable and lasting partnerships in the context of SIDS priorities as laid out in the Samoa pathway. Let me also express our sincere thanks to you, Excellency Honorable Prime Minister, for your personal presence and your commitment, as well as that of your Council of Ministers, to the SIDS agenda, as evidenced today by the presence of all your ministers. The three-day conference being organized here provides an excellent opportunity to bring ideas into reality, as the theme of the conference suggests. The participation of the private sector from several countries is highly appreciated, considering the important role that they can play in the development of our countries. This meeting can also serve to guide and shape the implementation of the Samoa Pathway based on global indicators for the Sustainable Development Goals and the Sendai Framework. Success in implementing the SDGs will depend largely on the ability to build reliable and solid partnerships between national governments, international organizations, the private sector, NGOs, and civil society. Of high importance are public-private sector partnerships. As while government can provide the necessary framework for the implementation of modern, sustainable, environment-friendly, and climate-responsible measures, it is the private sector which is better placed to implement the strategies and projects which are required to meet the ambitious goals that we have set for ourselves. The PPPs, therefore, represent a very effective tool in addressing many of the challenges faced by SIDS in the spirit of the new agenda of shared responsibility to ensure that nobody is left behind. SIDS have long recognized the importance of PPPs, and this explains the setting up of the SIDS Partnership Framework and the establishment of the SIDS DOC, two mechanisms aimed at promoting the implementation of the Samoa Pathway while keeping ownership of our sustainable development path. The SIDS Partnership Framework provides for global annual multi-stakeholder partnership dialogues. The Steering Committee for SIDS Partnership, which was recently launched in New York, will allow SIDS to work closely with our partners on the 300 partnerships established in the Samoa and in forming new ones. The Steering Committee will also work in close collaboration with UN-DESA and the Office of the High Representative for LLDCs and SIDS to ensure that these partnerships achieve their objectives and that the best practices and lessons learned are shared with others. In addition, the Steering Committee will serve as a forum to assess commitments made in the Samoa Pathway and provide guidance and support for actions that need to be taken. It is our hope that the discussions we are having at this conference will also contribute in enhancing discussions at the partnership dialogues this year. The SIDS DOC, on the other hand, is an initiative which SIDS have established to address the pressing needs to transition to a green, low-carbon, high-energy efficient economy based on renewable energy sources. SIDS DOC will act as an interface for SIDS in sourcing and soliciting financing for projects and technology transfer while providing technical assistance and capacity building to member states. SIDS DOC, however, can only be successful with the effective participation of the private sector. PPPs, therefore, is essential as SIDS continue to seek creative ways to protect and preserve the unique, delicate, and pristine environment, which unfortunately is subject to vulnerabilities which we all suffer from. The recent cyclone in Fiji has shown to what extent SIDS are vulnerable in the face of devastating effects of climate change. That is why we need support to help build resilience against nature's calamities as well as the actions of mankind. The Paris Agreement gives us hope that we are on the right track in addressing climate change and that ultimately there can be a more optimistic outlook for the future of SIDS. We look forward to the opening of the signature on 22nd April 2015 in New York, and thereafter we will have to insist on its early implementation, which, like that of the 2030 agenda, depends heavily on a united front by all stakeholders. As I said at the beginning, this conference comes at a very opportune time. Our focus areas for this conference: renewable energy, oceans, sustainable tourism, sustainable agriculture, connectivity, finance, and infrastructure, set the tone for important deliberations which will directly impact on the achievements of many of the SDGs, which are priority areas for the small islands. This conference will also allow SIDS to be better informed about the legal and regulatory frameworks that would be required to attract PPPs. The turnout at this conference is a clear indication of our engagement and commitment to addressing these very important issues, as well as our sincere belief in PPP's contribution in achieving the objectives set for 2030 and ensuring that no one is left behind. We look forward to the deliberations of the different panels and the opportunities for networking as well as experience sharing over these 3 days. I'd like to also express our sincere gratitude to the Government of Netherlands, and in particular to my good friend, Ambassador Karel Ostrom, for having facilitated the participation of so many SIDS representatives here today, and the wonderful people of Aruba for hosting us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Konjul. Mr. Konjul closed by thanking the Kingdom of the Netherlands, and so it is only fitting that we allow a few moments for the permanent representative for the Kingdom of the Netherlands to the United Nations to address us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Karel van Oosterom.
Dear Prime Minister Eman, dear Prime Minister Marlin, dear Under Secretary General Acharia, Your Excellencies, dear delegates. It's a big honor for me to be speaking here in the presence of 2 of my 4 Prime Ministers. Thank you very much for being here. Prime Minister Eman, let me first underline but also thank you for your beautiful and, can I say, impressive words on the events in Belgium and the important role the United Nations have to play in this context and is playing. Thank you very much. You touched our hearts. Let me express appreciation to the co-hosts of this conference also for organizing this very important conference, and as my good friend Ambassador from Mauritius, Jagdish, just said, this very timely conference. We really believe this is a timely conference. In 2014, we agreed on the recommendations in the Samoa Pathway. Last year, in 2015, we agreed on the Sustainable Development Goals and the 2030 Agenda. And this year, it means that we have to get to the stadium of implementation, implementation, and implementation. We have to make those recommendations, those goals, a living reality. And mentioning Samoa, the SDGs, and Paris, I really realized, Prime Minister, you were present at all 3 conferences. That's true, I didn't realize you were in all 3. And today you're here on the 4th conference in that row. So when we talk about implementation, in the Kingdom of the Netherlands, we believe governments cannot do it alone. We need all of society. We need cooperation between governments, private sector, knowledge institutions, and civic society. And not only that, we need partnerships and cooperation between governments of certain countries with other countries and with the United Nations. And that is why this public-private partnership addresses those key issues, getting cooperation between the public and the private sector, and also all the other dimensions I just mentioned, make that a reality. When Ambassador of Mauritius just mentioned the 7th dimension of this conference, I realized that one of the many underlying dimensions of those 7 is water, the issue of water. And when we talk about water, it's either too much, too little, or too dirty. And I don't know whether all of us realize, but today, by chance, is also World Water Day. The 22nd of March, which we at the United Nations in New York installed a couple of years ago, because water is such a key issue in sustainable development. Water threatens security and stability. Lack of water is a violation of fundamental human rights. And water is a crucial aspect of making the Samoa Pathway Sustainable Development Goals a living reality. And coming from the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which is defined by water, I'm proud to say that the Kingdom of the Netherlands is your partner for peace, justice and development, also when we talk about water. So once again, Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for making this conference possible. Hopi dankie, Mimpres. And I wish you all a happy World Water Day, a happy conference on this wonderful one happy island. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Karel van Oostrom. And now we would like to welcome to the stage the United Nations Resident Coordinator, Mr. Richard Blewett.
Let me just start to add the voice of the United Nations colleagues in the Caribbean in solidarity with the human tragedy in Brussels, and of course others losing their lives in terrible conflicts today around the world. Prime Minister of Aruba, Mike Amen, Prime Minister of St. Martin, William Marlin, Under Secretary General and High Representative, UNOHRLLS, Gayan Acharya, Ministers and Members of Parliament, Honourable Ambassadors and invited guests, UN colleagues, private sector colleagues, government colleagues and media colleagues, a very good morning. I'm part 1 and then Glenn from the University of Aruba is part 2, and we're between you and the coffee break, so we're going to be quite short. I'm here to basically build off what Prime Minister Amen mentioned, which is the launch of the Aruba Center of Excellence, and I'm just going to briefly introduce it. UNDP are part of it, the government of Aruba is part of it, the University of Aruba is part of it, and TNO is part of it. We're on the verge of implementing essentially a 2-year project in Aruba designed to establish the elements necessary for capacity building, transfer of knowledge and South-South cooperation between Aruba and 27 UN member SIDS. It seeks to do this by leveraging Aruba's technical expertise and experience in sustainable development in such areas as energy, PPPs, water management, environmental issues, tourism and health. At the heart of the project is the PPPs, which this conference is about, and is the Sustainable Development Goals, the Agenda 2030. The project has 4 components: training in creating sustainable development roadmaps, targeting at high-level officials from SIDS across the Caribbean, Pacific, and AIMS regions. The training will focus on raising awareness of the sustainable development practices and approaches followed or pioneered by Aruba, and building a foundation of key principles for the application of innovative strategies to address sustainable development. There'll also be a 5-day in-country technical assistance program. Following the high-level training, 7 SIDS representatives at the training would be recipients of in-country technical assistance from TNO in the Caribbean in further progressing the development of national sustainable development roadmaps. This will include a situation analysis of the country's needs and potential strategies to meet these needs. There will also be a sustainable development virtual platform, and obviously we'll link to this global platform that's being launched here today. This platform will be there to facilitate the export of knowledge products. A sustainable development virtual platform will be created through which information, research, ideas and challenges, experiences can be exchanged with other SIDS. This will also allow continuous engagement with participants from the training and will serve as a repository for resources on sustainable development, including training materials. Then, very importantly, the project will also work on knowledge products. Based on the activities to be undertaken, a series of knowledge management tools will be developed and posted on the virtual learning platform. Some examples of what these might be would include documentation of best practice initiatives in Aruba which can be shared with participants and their networks, documentation of roadmap development processes from in-country missions, compilation of completed roadmaps of participating countries, lessons learned of project outputs and various milestones, final publication of an evaluation, toolkits, step-by-step guides for developing sustainable development roadmaps for SIDS, considering their own national realities. To accomplish this extensive program, UNDP is collaborating, as I say, with these 4 partners together. In addition to the main partners, this initiative will be overseen by a project board comprised of key stakeholders directly involved in the implementation of the projects in Aruba. And we're going to have our first board meeting today at lunch, so it's a very exciting day for us. In closing, I would particularly like to thank the leadership of the Aruban government for their commitment and drive around sustainable development and their commitment to small island developing states that face similar challenges. I would also like to thank Caro and the Netherlands government for their willingness to invest in this project to get the Centre of Excellence moving. And now I'm going to pass on to Glenn, who is going to take on Part B. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Let me also, from the part of the University of Aruba, join everybody today in mourning actually the sad events in the world. It's really sad. But since we're here, let me also allow me to extend to you a warm welcome to the island of Aruba on behalf of the University of Aruba. And we hope that you will enjoy every aspect of your stay with us on this beautiful island, and we wish you a very fruitful conference. And as Richard already mentioned, the University of Aruba is collaborating with the UNDP, the government of Aruba, and TNO Caribbean, also together with private sector partners, to establish a platform that will serve not only Aruba and all UN SIDS as a valuable resource towards capacity building, but will actually serve the world community at large. The University of Aruba joined this program as it fits marvelously with our strategic vision. We envision that in 5 to 10 years, we will live in a world where our university is part of a global knowledge network. Our university and the island of Aruba and our regions and all small island developing states are connected to each other through a robust collaborative network. This network consists of collaborating knowledge institutes like universities, but also other NGOs, government agencies, and private sector partners that have an interest in sharing know-how. The network is designed for sharing of experiences, knowledge products, and expertise. The basis for this network will be a strong triple helix approach, where academia, government, and private sector collaborate with each other to create value and build capacity within our societies. Aruba has transformed her ambition to leave traditional economics and industrial technologies behind and to become a society applying sustainable development practices and circular economy principles. Aruba has made that a reality. That is the dream To achieve this dream, the University of Aruba is supporting efforts to establish activities in Aruba that constitute a living lab, a society open for experimentation and willing and capable to study the challenging phenomena it faces as a small, arid island isolated by the sea. The University of Aruba is building a network of partners to help study these challenges of Aruba and communities similar to Aruba, those challenges we encounter in our quest for development and capacity building. Our aim is to discover the best possible solution for our own type of challenges. It was mentioned a little bit before, there's not one solution fits all, one size fits all. Joining this collaborative project that Mr. Blewett introduced, we will be capable of consolidating these insights we generate as societies and transform these into knowledge products. These knowledge products can be designed so that they can be replicated and scaled. As such, they can be contextualized for use as smart solutions for all SIDS within the knowledge network. For the knowledge network to function as envisioned, the collaborative platform in the end will support knowledge generation and transfer from and to all SIDS. At the University of Aruba, we will set up, as mentioned by Richard, a virtual sustainable development platform on a robust IT platform the university has been building that will function as a knowledge repository and be accessible from within the knowledge network. Here, knowledge products from all SIDS will be integrally stored in a structured environment that will enhance accessibility from across the globe and also guarantee sustainability of this knowledge. The possibilities to ultimately support research and go hand in hand with the capacity building through training and higher education. The possibilities are almost endless. At this moment, the University of Aruba already has a practice of almost 30 years in which it offers higher education that complies with both European, US, and actually and international standards of education. Higher education and research at this moment focuses on the disciplines of law, finance and economics, accounting, governance, management, hospitality and international business, tourism, and also sociology and social network issues. We are in the process to establish the Green Faculty at the university. With the establishment of the Green Faculty, the university will be able to combine all the current disciplines together with modern, sophisticated technological disciplines to better research questions regarding sustainability. We will also be able to transform these studies and the results into educational and training products with our partners, being it public, private, or government partners. These activities will be accessible through the collaborative platform Mr. Blewett said we will introduce shortly. The University of Aruba believes that this collaboration will be another stepping stone to help convert South-South collaboration and collaboration between all SIDS from concept or idea to an everyday reality for all of us. I wish to thank the UNDP, the governments of all SIDS present and not present, the government of the Kingdom, and TNO Caribbean, and our private partners for the trust in us, and we'll be looking forward to the realization of this idea of the Aruba Center of Excellence for Sustainable Development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Today. I always smile when I see that gentleman because he warms my heart. What we see here up on the screen is the logo for the Aruba Center of Excellence for Sustainable Development for SIDS. We are very proud to present this logo. We are very proud to present this logo of the Center of Excellence for Sustainable Development for SIDS, and we are also very pleased and proud to announce that an Aruban, Mrs. Francielle Leclay, has been hired as the Assistant Project Manager to this project, and she has a master's degree in sustainable studies, and we are very, very excited and pleased to announce her placement as well in the Aruba Center of Excellence. So ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Well, we have come to the moment in our program where we are sure you are ready for a break. And so we would like to call a break now. It's a networking exhibition moment for all of you. So please take some time to mingle with each other, but as well to view what we have outside exhibited. We are asking that you try to reconvene back here in the meeting room in the next 15 to 20 minutes. We'd like to be able to recoup and keep you on schedule today, so we will be asking you in about 15 to 20 minutes to come back inside. Enjoy your break, and we thank you for your attention. next session on oceans. Our program will resume in a few short minutes. We hope you enjoyed your break. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our Oceans session is about to begin. We kindly ask that you take your seats and prepare. The next series of presentations will be facilitated by various speakers who will be introduced by our moderator, Mr. Jagdish Kunjal. You had the pleasure of hearing him speak already this morning, and Mr. Kunjal is the permanent representative of the Republic of Mauritius to the United Nations. He will serve as moderator for the session on oceans. If our staff can please ensure that the doors to the exterior is closed, then we can go ahead and begin. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, our moderator for the ocean session, Mr. Jagdish Kunjal.
Thank you very much, and good morning again. Excellencies and dear colleagues, we are going to now move on to the panel on oceans. And as you will see from the brochure, it says that small island developing states are at the forefront of conservation and sustainable use of ocean and marine resources, but are also among the most vulnerable nations to ocean and coastal degradation. So this session is going to focus on sharing and scaling up the best practices on responsible public-private partnerships, including in areas of sustainable fishing and protecting the oceans and marine resources. As you all will realize, ocean economy is increasingly being termed as the new frontier of development. And islands and coastal states, which are the custodians of very large portions of the oceans, are in a position of high responsibility, both of protecting the environment, but also looking at its economic development needs, because the oceans is also a source of great revenue for these same small island countries. So the challenge here is to try to see how we can develop ocean resources, but also do it in such a sustainable manner that we protect the resources for future use. And in this regard, obviously, the PPPs can play a very, very important role. The concept of ocean economy is not novel to the SIDS. We have relied on for years on economic activities, especially in terms of tourism, marine-related activities, fishing, etc. So this is an area which is very, very close to the heart of the islanders. So today we are going to have 5 presentations by very distinguished panelists who are already here. I think we are just missing one of them. If he is here, can I invite him to please come and join us? But we are going to begin with the presentation by Mr. Diego Acevedo, who is the co-founder of Blue Rise, which is a B corporation based in the Netherlands working on ocean thermal energy. Diego has focused on the opportunities that innovative island energy solutions can give to the world, and he currently resides in Aruba, in this beautiful and happy island, and is spearheading the transition to full sustainability. So may I now invite him to take the floor, and just before he takes the floor, let me just give the rules. We are going to have each speaker speak for about 10 minutes, There's going to be somebody who's going to keep the time, and he is going to let him know as soon as he's about to reach the end of his presentation. And after the 5 speakers will have spoken, we are going to open the session for some questions and interactions. Diego, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, good morning. So this is it's great to start with the oceans. I think the oceans is what's binding us all together here, is what we all have in common as small islands. Everything that we do on land and that we have been doing a little bit wrong on land ends up in the ocean. And the ocean, thankfully, also has great answers for us to do things better on land. We have a large global challenge. I like starting this with this picture. These are statistics from a few years back already, where we see that the global increase in food and energy and water demand is skyrocketing throughout the world. And this is in particular in tropical regions. The cost for energy, food, and water in the world, everybody is getting worried about because of scarcity. What we don't realize in the world, we do realize it in the islands, is that the small islands are already facing these challenges that the world is going to face in the decades to come. So what can we do about it? Well, when we look at an island from outside, what do we see? The largest resource, and it's the source, basically, of everything, the ocean. And that's what we work on in Blue Rise. We work on initially ocean energy, but use of the thermal potential in the ocean as a whole. Now, ocean thermal energy conversion, this is what we in Blue Rise specialize on. It's making use of the temperature difference in the tropical ocean between the warm surface water and the deep cold water to get energy out of it. Now, the beauty of it is that it can also be used for other purposes. And this drives a complete economy around what we actually need, which is not only energy, in tropical regions like this, cooling, very important, but also food by means of agriculture, let's say seawater cooled greenhouses, for instance, aquaculture practices, sustainable aquaculture practices, freshwater production, and more. This is all enabled by the use of the cold deep sea water that can enable all these sustainable applications. This is, let's say, an artist impression of how this actually looks like when we look at the infrastructure that's necessary to enable the use of deep sea water for these applications. So basically, a long pipe going to the ocean depth, getting 4 degrees Celsius water up, and being able to use that to generate our needs in an island sustainably. Now, this is being done elsewhere in the Pacific. Hawaii, Taiwan, Korea, for instance, and Japan are doing this for decades already. What are the benefits? This brings a source of renewable energy, of baseload energy, so that's energy that's always available, that we can count on 24/7. It is huge potential, clean production, reliable source, and possibilities of freshwater production. Now, what do people say? For instance, Fabien Cousteau, he's a well-known ocean explorer and conservationist as well. He mentions the use of these technologies as a clean energy source is a prime example on how to sustainably make use of the oceans without harming the marine environment. And I think that's key, is that whatever we do to solve the things that we're doing on land do not harm. The same, so we have, for instance, another person, Dr. Devin Gardner, he's the head of the energy unit of the CARICOM, also advocates for the use of this, not only because of the energy potential of it, but all the rest of the economic enablers that it brings. We are a company from the Netherlands. We are very lucky to be in the Netherlands, where a lot of this type of let's say innovation and technology is coming from, with regards to use of the ocean and offshore technologies. We see that the Kingdom of the Netherlands has something to offer in regards to developing these technologies for all islands and then for the rest of the world. because it is a tremendous resource that we can use. Over 100 countries and territories can make use of this potential of using deep sea water for sustainable development. Here you see where we are in the Caribbean, of course, but it's a tremendous resource in which the islands and the kingdom have a very interesting role to play. We all have this resource. We know what the issues are, and from here we are, as a private company again, looking at, we know what are the things that we need, we know what we have around us, we know that the ocean is there, and making innovative use of it makes sense. So we started in Curacao. In Curacao, we are working initially as what could maybe be considered a public-private partnership with the Curacao Airport. That's a public entity in which we're developing a seawater district cooling system to basically lower the cost of doing business at the airport. There's a new data center there, logistics infrastructure that would be cooled down, lowering the cost of doing business. But at the same time, using the infrastructure that we build up for that to advance energy technology, OTEC technology, and also we have 60 hectares that we will be developing, initially with 20 hectares, growing up to 60 hectares, for food production and other innovative use of this water, algae production, for instance, pharmaceuticals. There are a multitude of different applications that can be used, and that's what we've been working on the last few years in Curacao. Now, quite recently, just a few weeks back, we received this macroeconomic report independently done by the Ministry of Economic Affairs of Curacao, in which, again, Curacao being a small island, they've analyzed the project that we're working on, and they say within 5 years we can achieve a GDP growth for the island of almost 1% and over 900 sustainable jobs that can be created with it. Now, this is a private initiative that comes in, looks at what we can do sustainably, and then we ask, we come in cooperation with the airport, but we also need bigger cooperation also with the rest of the island. There are different things that are needed to get a project of this magnitude rolling, and in that we mean much closer cooperation with the government, permitting, for instance, having the certainty in how procedures are done, different guarantees that need to set up to be able to enable that investment. What we work on is basically sitting from an island, looking at what is it that we need, how can we solve it, not bringing stuff from outside, but looking from within our own resources, how can we solve our own problems. And I think that's, the ocean can provide that solution.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Diego, and thank you especially for keeping within the time limit. We are now going to hear from Ms. Charlotte Vick. And Charlotte Vick serves as curator for Google's Earth Explore the Ocean. She's been working with over 400 ocean partners in civil society, government, research, exploration, education, and the media. And she has probably the best experience from both worlds, that is from government and the private sector. Now, information about the ocean is absolutely necessary, vital, I would say, for any government to take informed decisions about what to do with the ocean resources. And the collaboration of the scientific community in determining the best use of the different areas of the ocean, I think it cannot be underestimated. So probably what we're going to hear from Charlotte is going to give us some idea about how we can put scientific knowledge to the best use of our countries in our development needs. Charlotte, you have the floor.
It's very happy for me to be following Diego, the very youngest person on our panel, because I, of course, am the oldest person in our panel. But I also happen to have been part of the original team that worked on ocean thermal energy conversion in Hawaii with Dr. John Craven. And because of that, he introduced me to Dr. Sylvia Earle, and we had a very small little tech company working on exactly what he's doing for a while. But then Sylvia, being an oceanographic person and an extraordinary ocean explorer, eventually we just kind of let that little entity go down because there were lots of other new people taking it up, and we're working on it. I'm really thrilled, though, and I know Dr. Craven, who died last year, would be absolutely thrilled to see someone like him here doing that. But in 2008, my children were all out of college, and I decided I wanted to be all ocean all the time. I had pretty much been all ocean and all islands all the time for nearly 30 years already at that point. So I got in touch with Sylvia and said, you know, what can I do? And she said, oh my goodness, I wish I'd known you were available sooner. We're working on this project with Google. Can you come out next Friday? And the next thing I knew, I was there and being hired by Google to help them start this project. So my presentation today actually is about an idea. This is Ideas into Reality. And I came up with an idea talking to Peter Kenny-Larea when we were at COP21 in Paris. And I thought, you know, we should be getting a tool together that will enable the SIDS. I was also at the SIDS meeting in Samoa, by the way, and at Rio Plus 20. So we've been thinking about these things for a long time. And I thought, we need a good tool that allows us to tell these global stories of what we're doing in the islands and in even landlocked states. I grew up in a landlocked area myself, and I know very well that the ocean is important to us. So here's what my idea is. And I didn't know you were going to be announcing two great new tech fronts that are sort of available for online information. But I wanted to show you a little vision of what we have been doing and what is, I believe, possible that could be combined with both the Business Network and the Aruba initiative announced today as well. So I have just, rather than having slides, I just wanted to show you the tool that we've built. And this is kind of a beta version. It's almost a test platform for some things that we're playing around with right now, because we originally built it on Google Earth, which is 3D. But that is not available online. It's easier to do online information with a 2D version of the same thing, so two-dimensional. So you will see I have in the text box at the top, this resides on the Mission Blue website for the Sylvia Earle Alliance. And I have typed in the word Aruba. That allows you to go to this story that's about the Catlin Sea View Survey here in Aruba, and it has a photo of the a photo of the shipwreck, a very famous shipwreck here that is of interest to a lot of people. But you can also, in the links for more information, where there's one of the blue links over on the right, Oscar, says Catlin Sea View Survey, and let's just see if that works. Go ahead and click that. And it may be too heavy for the bandwidth, but basically this takes you to that 3D, 360-degree underwater street view version of that was done by the Australian team with the Catlin Sea View Survey. And it looks like it's not going to do it, so let's go to the next one. So the next thing I wanted to show you is you can take an issue. Probably the biggest issue that we're all dealing with in the entire world is carbon and CO2. Oh, it did come up for you. So you can go in and take a virtual dive, and it will literally let you migrate 360 degrees in every direction. So let's just go back and do our little, I'm sorry I'm doing this to you, Oscar, at the last minute. So. You can't go back? Okay, so I will tell you then, I know that we were going to look at just putting in the search term CO2, and you can all do this. It's just at our website, mission-blue.org. And then you will go to the menu. There you'll see Sylvia swimming with a bunch of fish. And then go to the menu and go to the Explore the Ocean layer. And essentially you have that, it will open, there's an overview video that it sort of tells you what the purpose of this was about. It was produced by National Geographic. Sylvia wrote all of it. And she wrote all of our introductory pieces, and we produced them. But it's, so you can see that. Oh yeah, so you have it up. Can you go to the menu at the top to Explore the Ocean? There you go. Okay, so type in CO2 for me. Thank you. So immediately you start to get a film strip, and this is 10 of the stories that we have about what happens with CO2 in the ocean. If you use the toggling thing there, you know, that's 20 stories. And then one more time. So we have 21 stories, one of them coming from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, that explain to you what's going on with just carbon in the ocean. And then the next search term we're going to use is ocean acidification. And basically that's a subset of the problems that we have with carbon. And when you do that, I know that there are at least 40 or 45 stories in here on that, so we don't have to actually count them this time, but you can see that this one is from the Smithsonian. And the Smithsonian's Ocean Portal is one of our partners in working on this project. One of the things that I want to highlight is that the Smithsonian's Ocean Portal, when we were working with them, I suggested, why don't you consider putting Google Translate on your Ocean Portal, because we're finding that there are more people outside North America. We were building it in North America, but the vast majority of users are coming from places all around the world, and it's primarily teachers who are using the content to teach their classes about what's going on in the ocean. So this is just one of many, but the Smithsonian has installed the Google Translate tool, so you can take the tool and follow the Ocean Portal in any language in the world that you want, and it will automatically translate most of the material. It doesn't yet translate the subtitles for video yet, but that's one of the things that I want to work with Google on, because YouTube is actually owned by Google. So we're trying to get that kind of internationalization of everything into it. So that's one of the visions I have for what I'd like us to bring into all of the business network work, all of the things that are happening here in Aruba and in the United Nations things. I also believe the National Science Foundation has used this as a reporting tool for the people who get their grants, actually, in several occasions. And so I think it's a good tool that I almost would like to see on the portal for climate, for nations to put in their INDCs, for example.
time to time. These constituents that you see on the screen there, the ocean user community that I've mentioned, shipping and fishing and oil and gas and others, the entrepreneurs, the leaders, the innovators such as Diego here that are creating new ways and responsible and sustainable ways to use ocean resources, along with the investors. And as I say, this is really being driven by the investment community. We have major players in the institutional long-term investment community who are hearing about the blue economy